Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into today's episode. Before we get into it, I just wanted to throw a couple quick things out there. So me and my friend Scott Mervis recorded this conversation almost a month ago on May 19th, and a lot has happened since May 19th. And as a result, there's a lot of things that we're not going to be talking about in this conversation because they just hadn't happened yet. And I wanted to put that out there because it's been pretty common practice for me to not get an episode that I record uploaded until 3 or 4 weeks after the fact. But with how much is going on these days, it's really insane how quickly something can feel outdated or irrelevant, even though we only had this conversation just a few weeks ago. So I did want to put that out there. This is a really cool conversation. We talk a lot about Scott's background as a writer. We talk about the current state of the music industry given mid-May with all of the COVID-19 stuff going on. And we talk about a lot of other things as well. So even though there are some things that aren't touched on, this is more of a general conversation about Scott and about being a writer, being a musician. And I think if you're interested in any of that, you'll still get a lot out of this. Moving forward, I'm hoping to get into a groove of being able to release episodes with a quicker turnaround, so I don't have to worry about the potential for there being things that happen that, it's like I wish that we would have been able to talk about this on the episode, but, it is what it is. As much as I hate that saying, it just is what it is. So without any further bullshit, let's get into it. This is my conversation with my friend, Scott Mervis of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Sit back, relax, and let's start the motherfucking beat. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda or coffee or water, whatever you like, in the fridge. Not sure if you have anything, my friend, but cheers. I have a water.
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's noon. I have some aloe vera.
Yeah.
Some water.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in the same exact boat. Just water right now. I had my one coffee for the day. I'm trying to be better about that.
Yeah, I've been doing the cold brew.
Yeah.
You know, like I get it at Trader Joe's, the concentrate, and then you add water to it. I like it like that.
Yeah. It's awesome. And I find that there's all of these new habits that I am developing for the better as a result of the quarantine.
Yeah.
More making breakfast at home and saving money, saving time, just being a lot more self-sufficient. It's funny how being a DIY musician or a writer such as yourself, somebody that's done all of this freelance sort of stuff, working for yourself, how tied into some unnecessary things I was that I never really thought about before. Like, yeah, I'm independent, but I'm dependent on Starbucks for coffee every day.
Yeah. I had a trial run of this like about 1.5 years ago. I broke my collarbone commuting into work.
Wow.
So I worked at home for about 6 weeks, and I got like a feel of what it was like to just work at home. And it's like it's kind of a mixed bag because like you can get into a rut, and you can also get into the thing where you feel like you always have to be working while you're at home. There's no separation between work and home. So it gets a little bit complicated. Like your computer's always right there. Yeah. It's like I should be doing that. But like, you do need to separate somehow. And, you need to get out. You need to get out. Like sometimes you're like, I got to take a walk right now, but I got stuff to do. But like, just go take the walk. You know what I mean? It's important to do that.
The separation is so important. So before we get off into a huge tangent, there's plenty that we could talk about. I do feel that I should probably introduce you for anybody that has no idea who we're talking to.
Right.
We are talking with Scott Mervis of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Make some noise for the internet. Everyone's happy that you're here.
Nice.
So
Was that laughter at the end?
There wasn't any laughter.
Oh, okay.
I could add some in if you would like some.
Maybe at certain points a laugh track would be good.
Well, we could do one of these for you.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll have those moments. We'll have those.
I'll keep that button handy then.
Save that.
Yeah. Got it. So I know
do I get buttons?
I'm sorry?
I don't get any buttons though.
I
don't have none that I can push to make sound effects.
If you had something over there, I'm sure you could wire it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, I don't have any. I've never had a guest request sound effects before, but if you, by all means, please. So you are somebody that I know just, from putting out articles in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, writing about music, popular music, stuff that people actually care about, and the local music scene as well. You cover a whole spectrum, which is super cool. And you are very active. You write a lot of pieces. And the first thing that I want to say is this is the first time I've ever seen you. You seem to be rather elusive. And I wanted to ask if that was by choice as a writer.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I haven't done a lot of... This is the first podcast I've ever done where I've been a guest. Although I did it with Patrick Jordan the other night. That was a Facebook Live kind of thing. The actor Patrick Jordan.
I'm not familiar.
He asked me to be on.
Cool.
He does like a nightly... it's like a live Facebook Live thing. So I went on there. But yeah, I kind of like to be a little bit low key about that because, I'm out at all these concerts. I don't really need people like knowing who I am at the concerts. You know what I mean? But you know what? There's no concert, so I might as well just... There was going to be a lot of concerts, and now there's no concerts.
Yeah, so we could definitely we've touched on it a bit how the lockdown and the COVID-19 stuff has affected you personally. You're obviously still writing from home. You're putting out articles and things like that. There are no concerts. I'm curious, how are you dealing with not being able to see live music right now?
Well, first of all, Brian, I have a long history of seeing live music. I have seen most of it at this point.
Sure.
So I can just tap back into those experiences. I can skip a little bit, I had a very busy time in October, November, December, announcing all these shows. And it was like, this is getting crazy. 2021 is looking like off, like nuts in terms of concerts. And I'm looking at for instance, I'll call it the Star Lake schedule. I'm looking at the Star Lake schedule and I'm like, I'm going to go there 5 nights in a row.
Wow.
I'm like, I don't want to go there 5 nights in a row. So I'm looking at it with a combination of excitement and dread, right?
Yeah.
There's like there's about 5 shows that I really wanted to see. The Stones, of course, were coming back. And they're good. They're sloppy and it's good. It's a stadium show. It's an experience. I was really looking forward to seeing Primus do Rush. Because I love every Primus show. I love Rush. So the two, I can't even imagine what that was going to sound like. So I was excited for that. Rage Against the Machine was finally coming back, after all these years, like where the fuck have they been?
Yeah.
And now they're finally coming back. I don't know how that was going to be. So I didn't know how much I should look forward to that, but I figured it would be pretty great, So that one, let's see, all 3 of those are already down the tubes. Today we just found out that the Weezer Green Day one is out.
Yeah.
And then I was really looking forward to seeing Jason Isbell because I like him a lot too. So there were some that I really wanted to see, but then there were like the Dave Matthews and the Jimmy Buffetts and the Kenny Chesneys and all the country's concerts and stuff that I don't really get up for. That I was going to have to go to.
Yeah.
Or find an intern to go to. Obviously, there's none of those. So here we are. We don't know what's going to happen, if there will be any concerts in 2021 at all. I just saw Jessica Rosario at the Point when she did her little protest concert. That's the only live music I've seen since Sturgill Simpson was the last show I saw. Well, Sturgill and Tyler Childers.
That's a fucking good one to go out on for a little bit.
It was a really good one. It was a strange one though, that show, because Sturgill was in like kind of an odd frame of mind or something. Like he was generally doing his new album straight through, and this night he decided not to do that. So and then like a lot of the Tyler Childers people left after he played. It was a weird last concert of 2021, sure. If that was it.
Yeah. The thing that bummed me out, I'm in the same boat as you, is honestly, I don't mind not going to shows for a bit, as silly as that may seem to some people. I was in the same boat as you. I'm looking at my calendar was coming up in terms of shows that I was playing, shows that my friends were playing, bands coming into town. I was like, in a way, I was like, wow, this feels like we're almost like a real music city again for the first time in a while. Because you had mentioned, sure, every year we get the Kenny Chesneys and those shows, but for like big rock acts, it had been a really long time since we had a calendar like this.
Yeah.
And
every Oh, I forgot to even mention that Roger Waters was going to open his tour here. And that like that Roger Waters show, the last one I saw, was literally one of the best concerts I've ever been to. I just saw this. I woke up this morning to him like causing trouble with David Gilmour on his feed doing some. And he said he was making a big announcement, and his big announcement was that he was pissed off that Pink Floyd won't run any kind of messages about his solo tours on their website. I was like, "That's your announcement? Like you're pissed off at David Gilmour is your announcement,
dude?"
But yeah, well, I mean, Brian, I think we always like. We've had some really good years with shows, and it seemed like did seem like this year we were getting more than the usual.
Yeah,
and that everybody was just coming out this year.
It felt as though it was more than usual in my particular preferred demographic of bands.
What were you looking forward to seeing?
So
I obviously was talking about the big shows that like I have to go out and review, but I know on the club level there was a lot of stuff going on as well.
On the club level, I can't even count. Like I keep a separate calendar for shows, and I hadn't opened it in weeks because there was no reason to. And then just a couple days ago, I decided to look at it and saw all the little things that I had missed, and I was like, "Oh, such a bummer." But on the big scale, I was really looking forward to the Rage show. I actually never got to see them when I was younger, so I thought it would be really cool to finally get to see them. There's some stuff out of town that we're trying to do. They haven't been canceled yet, but I'm waiting for it to happen. Gonna go see Rammstein in Philly, and I don't think that that's gonna happen. I know that the Deftones are supposed to be coming back in August. I doubt that's going to happen, even though it hasn't been canceled yet. At least I haven't heard anything about it. But yeah, all that stuff, just slowly waiting for the stuff to come through.
Yeah, if we can get some shows that would play to under 20 people.
Yeah, the thing I'm really interested in, on a local level, we actually just got Sykes and the New Violence. We got our confirmation email for playing Millvale Music Fest in August. And I'm like, okay, I guess they're pushing. I know they already rescheduled it for May. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we're available, but like, do you really think we're going to be able to do a free all day outdoor music festival? How's this going to work? I'm curious.
Well, there's not that much outdoor space in Millvale. Like if it had been Deutschtown, I can see them doing it in that Northside Park. And I can see some outdoor things happening this summer with people staying a little bit, distant from each other. I just, I really don't think that anybody's going to get anyone's going to get COVID standing outdoors in the summer. In the heat. I just don't think it's going to happen. But, I guess we have to err on the side of caution. We couldn't do, I don't think that we could do one of the big Star Lake shows or a Three Rivers Arts Festival with, 20,000, 5,000 people there.
Yeah.
But I think there could be some pop-up things with just some bands playing some shows in the park. And I think that would be a way to start,
Yeah. I feel like there's two different conversations to be had. And there's the scientific reality of everything and then the social reality of everything. And the social reality, I think, is going to be a much bigger hurdle, because even if things are scientifically safe, people are still going to be very paranoid and very cautious about doing things. And then there's also on the others, there's going to be people that don't give a shit. There's people that don't give a shit now. And then you have those worlds colliding, And I'm really interested.
I'm gonna knock on wood. Like I'm not super scared. Like especially like I said when I talk about getting it outside. Like when Jessica Rosario announced that Music is Essential thing, she was going to do a show like 3 weeks ago in Point State Park. Like I went down to it. I wanted to see it. I wanted to be there and see what happened. There were only about like 10 people that showed up to watch it, but there were a lot of people in the park that day, and it was really good to hear some live music. And that, like I said, that's the only live music I've heard since Sturgill.
Yeah. So, with the local music scene, we have a very, very active community, and we've had a very active local music scene for as long as I can remember. My parents had friends that played in bands. My uncle knew people that played in bands, and now I it's so funny. Like my uncle knew the Cynics, and now I work for Greg. It's just like really funny.
Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome. Yeah,
it's so funny. And like my dad was an Eviction fan, so like
right.
I grew up around a lot of this stuff, and there's been a lot of fun, positive, cool stories that have come from Pittsburgh. I mean, you just put out that piece today on the House Rockers. Which was a really cool read. I actually just read through that. I got a Post-Gazette subscription just to read that article, just to let you know.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thanks.
That was actually one thing I wanted to talk to you about, was this whole online subscriptions and working for, a newspaper and what that's like. Because I will admit, you sent me the article and then I opened it up and it was like, oh, you got to subscribe to read. And then I was like, what the fuck? Immediately. But then in my brain, I was like, wait. It's like, why wouldn't I want to pay a little bit of money to help support, a local institution that's been doing good work for decades? It's like, how hypocritical of me would it be for someone like me that preaches, support local, to just be like, well, fuck, I'm not paying the Post-Gazette for their thing,
Yeah. I mean, it's like $1 a week to start or something, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's not that bad, but they might hit you up after the trial. Subscription.
Yeah. No, it was very clear. I think it was 99 cents for the first 4 weeks, and then it's $12 a month afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll give it a whirl. If I decide
our newest subscriber.
Yeah. I'll give it a whirl. But yeah, it was cool. It was neat to read through the article. A lot of the stories, like I didn't know a whole lot about the background of that album. I think like just growing up at the time that I did, that kind of music was just nothing I gave a shit about. But I have a lot more like respect and understanding for it now as I've just gotten older. Just in terms of like mellowing out a bit, everything doesn't have to be so crazy these days. And just like becoming more interested in like the stories of local Pittsburgh music, like actually caring about the background. I thought it was really well written.
When I went to Pitt, which was I started in 1979 at Pitt. Okay, to tell you my age. And the very first week there was a concert like on, in the Student Union on the corner of like Forbes and Bigelow Boulevard across from the cathedral. There was like a little patio there, and the Iron City House Rockers, played on that patio, like a free concert. It was like the first week of September, right when school was starting. That was the first time I had ever seen a local band, was the Iron City House Rockers.
Wow.
And, I had been coming I had been a fan of, Springsteen and the Jay Giles band. And it was like, this is our Jay Giles band. This is our E Street band, like right here in Pittsburgh. It was like really cool to me. And, their place was the Decade in Oakland. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
What the Decade was?
Yeah.
It was on that corner of Bouquet Street and Atwood, which is now like the Garage Door or something like that.
Yeah.
And, that place had, it had the Ramones, U2, the Police. They all played there. The Pretenders, just an amazing amount of bands that came through there. That's where they came. And the House Rockers were like the house band And I was like, I was too young to get into the Decade to see the House Rockers, but there was an apartment building, and I think it's still there, that's above the Decade, right? So we knew somebody who lived in that apartment building, and what we would do is we would go. They would let us in. We would go up to the roof of the apartment building, and then there was a stairway that went right down into the kitchen of the Decade. So we were like 19 years old, something like that. And we would sneak into the Decade we would just walk through the kitchen, and then we would be right out where the bands were playing. And then to get into the Electric Banana, we had these like paper licenses. So we would like we would move the dates around on our driver's license, because you could do that with an X-Acto knife and some glue, try to get it past Johnny Banana, right? So I was seeing like the Iron City House Rockers and all the Decade bands, Bon Ton Relay and Billy Price and all that stuff, and also going to the Electric Banana to see like Car Sickness and all those kind of bands. So
yeah,
that was kind of like my entree into the Pittsburgh scene. And I'm not sure how many of us were into like both sides of the Pittsburgh scene, because there was like the house rocker side, which was like the classic rock, like
oh sure, yeah,
Petty Heartland rock, and then there was like the punk rockers, like the Cynics and ATS and all those bands that played at the Banana. And I just went back and forth, because some of those bands also did play at the Decade, but they would play like Monday, Tuesday nights,
yeah.
But that was sort of my heyday of like going to shows in Pittsburgh. It was like a great era,
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Cynics. I was probably at one of the first Cynic shows when they were like a big 6-piece band with the Farfisa and everything. They had different people in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was before Michael got into it.
Yeah, they did have another singer before everyone's
Mark
favorite,
Harrisman.
Michael.
Right. The Cynics are, the Cynics are, I consider the Cynics to be one of the greatest Pittsburgh bands and one of the most underrated bands ever to come out anywhere.
Yeah.
I think they're one of the greatest garage rock bands ever, and still going.
Oh yeah.
And I think we lost the Cynics show because of this too. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, they lost the whole tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, those motherfuckers. I did one of these with them, with everyone, all like even the Spain guys and everything. And I don't know how I'm going to release it, because it is just a mess. Like, you get all of those guys together on a chat, and it's just, I think I maybe asked 2 questions.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
It's entertaining, but it's very much not an interview at all. It's just like bullshit hour with the Cynics.
The Cynics. Yeah, I remember, I don't remember where it was, but I remember the first time I saw the Cynics, and Greg's guitar tone just terrified me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was so, like, the tone, he was so massive and so mean and so nasty, and it was awesome. But it was also terrifying to see it live.
To this day, I play in a metal band, Greywalker, and whenever the Cynics did some shows at Get Hip recently, me and a couple of the guys were there, and we were watching them play. And like, as soon as they started playing, we all just looked to each other, like, even just being like, death metal dudes, like, holy shit, that sounds big. And it's just like, it's not, they're not a metal band by any means, but still, you can recognize how intense of a sound he still gets to this day. Like, it's huge.
Amazing. Like, his riffs are so good.
Yeah.
His riffs are so good. I miss them. I would love to see some of those right now.
Yeah.
Hear some of those. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And loud, really loud band.
Yeah. So much. Yeah. Very, very loud. So much energy. And just like, these dudes fucking, they shred.
And they've never really like calmed down. I think the last show I saw was at the 31st Street Pub. Was the last Cynic show that I've seen. I think I missed one of the last ones in Pittsburgh. So, they still kick ass, totally.
Yeah. Super high energy. So, there's plenty of positive Pittsburgh memories, and I'm not one to talk about anything negative, but there's always, you can't have good without the bad. And what I want to
Yeah.
tie this into with you and your writing is, over the course of the past few years, I've noticed every once in a while you maybe put out an article that it's rather polarizing on the internet, whether, maybe be a review on like the Pittsburgh ecosystem project, or a thing is, does Pittsburgh have too many music venues, and like, all these sorts of discussions. And I'm curious, like, like, how do you, like, whenever you're getting into like, writing something that do you think that like, maybe this is gonna like, a lot of people are gonna get worked up about this, or is this just like, well, this just seems like a good idea for an article?
No, you know what happened with that music ecosystem story? It was like, okay, the first story that came out was the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership. There was a press release put out where visitors to Pittsburgh had rated the Pittsburgh music scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So basically, people coming in who knew absolutely nothing about the Pittsburgh music scene, people maybe who were coming into conventions had no freaking idea where to go. They probably didn't know that there's a Mr. Smalls up in Millvale.
Sure.
That there's places in the South Side that they could go to Bloomfield. They probably didn't know about any of these places. So they're wandering around downtown. You know what I mean? They're looking for live music, and there's probably like very little there other than if they stumble upon something in Market Square, like at NOLA or something. So basically, I think it may have been in the headline where it said low-rated music scene, right? Mm-hmm. I think it was something like, it was like, Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership puts out study about Pittsburgh's low-rated music scene, like sports rated really high.
Yeah.
Visitors to Pittsburgh love the sports, but they could not find the music. Like even if the music's there, it's not right in your face. Like maybe in some cities, if you go to Austin, you walk down the street, it's like all right there. Pittsburgh has a club, right? Pittsburgh has a club here. They have a club there. You need a car to get to them, right?
Sure.
So it's a different kind of music scene totally than what people might expect from certain cities. So, and then that whole ecosystem thing sort of took off. Like Abby from YEP, they launched that whole study, and they paid like, I don't know, I don't remember even what it was.
I don't want to know how much it was.
Yeah, I mean, it got out of hand. I don't think the guy made that much. I think maybe he got paid like $10,000 or $15,000 from the some trust down. What was some foundation?
Sure.
To study it, and then they put out this big report, and I don't know that everybody kind of laughed at it. And it was like, well, we'll do a I Love Pittsburgh month, which I think they did that.
Yeah. And
then I think there was going to be an attempt to like sort of make a list of every band, like what's the word? Like a Excel spreadsheet of every Pittsburgh band and every style.
Sure.
That I think may still be happening. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
There wasn't a ton of enthusiasm about that whole study.
Yeah.
Because, obviously music scenes, they have to happen. Like, I went with this sort of Dave Wheeler from Outside Inside.
Yeah.
I mean, he was sort of just making the argument, this has to be pretty organic, and, he seemed to be like the voice of reason in that whole thing. And I was just trying to stay on a neutral side and just do the reporting. But I did probably put a few provocative words in here and there.
Yeah, no, I really, I feel like whenever I first read your piece, because I didn't make it to the meeting, basically your piece that you had wrote on it was my insight into the meeting, and I think I ended up like doing a video about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was so strange because like, I do these videos. I've been doing the podcast forever, and like, I'm talking with local bands and everything all the time, and it's like, sometimes things will get 500 hits, sometimes they get 2,000 hits. Like in a day, that thing had like 9,000 hits. I was like, holy shit, like there was so much energy and attention on this, but a lot of the people that were commenting and people that were engaging with it, it's like, I've never seen you at a show. I don't know who you are. who are you people?
Mm-hmm.
And why are you only deciding to get engaged now when there's like something to criticize? It was so strange.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
I
thought,
forgot about that meeting. I forgot about the meeting piece. I
Yeah.
mean, I just mentioned Dave Wheeler, and he's the one that
Yeah,
the
and, like,
people that talk at the meeting.
yeah, and he had
But
I was gonna say he had some of the comments from him in that piece I thought were like really, at the time I was like, geez, this is a little harsh. But after like thinking about it, I was like, he's right. He's totally right.
yeah. Well, the meeting was just basically to just bat around ideas, but then they like a bunch of people in the crowd just like ambushed that guy, from Austin, like made him go up there and talk, and they were just like screaming at him, like, what are you doing with this money? Like, why are you taking all this money to do this? And it was just like, I felt bad for the guy.
Sure.
He just came to observe, you know what I mean? And then just people were just screaming at him, and it's just like, it's kind of so long ago and it's died down so much. I don't even remember like what people were so pissed about.
Yeah.
Other than the low rated thing that triggered everybody.
I ended up going initially. They had another musician meetup thing at the Hard Rock Cafe, maybe a few months later.
I didn't go to that.
I went to that, and I actually met a couple people there that were just local musicians who I knew. I knew them just through the grapevine, but we had never met in person. So I had a good time. But in terms of anything that the people in charge were doing, and like they had some speakers, the mayor said some words and things like that, I was just like, this doesn't really connect with me. I feel like anything that they were talking about that would benefit the local music scene would benefit people that are already able to play like they can play in Market Square, or they can play in a restaurant downtown. They could play outside the brewery. They're like more family friendly, general good bands. It's like, but there's such a huge demographic of musicians here that are maybe a little bit more gritty, whether it's like just like a hard rock or a punk or anything like that. And it's like none of this. It's like there's a room full of people like at the Hard Rock. Like the majority of the people that were there that I saw, they were all people in rock bands or metal bands or punk or whatever. It's like, this, you're not doing anything to help us, actually. It doesn't feel like it. So
I mean, I feel where you're coming from, because like, for instance, the Three Rivers Arts Festival, which has some great stuff, and the county parks concerts, like you won't find like punk and metal there at all. And, I think the Three Rivers Arts Festival is there to sort of represent what, the broad range of arts. And it's just completely left out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they just feel that people are going to walk by and, want to eat their like fried zucchini or something. And the metal band's going to like give them heartburn or something. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know exactly what it is, but I really think that we need to see, we can't just have the WYEP bands lined up to play these things, and then a couple token hip hop acts or something like that. So it's always really disappointing to me that kind of stuff is overlooked. And it's not only been overlooked by, festivals and city and county things, but also by radio stations a lot. It never got a lot of love, except for some of the stuff that the X does, but I don't think there's like a lot of regular rotation or anything there for them.
Yeah. To some degree, like I'm not ignorant. Like I totally don't. I'm not surprised that there isn't a death metal band playing at Three Rivers Arts Festival, but you could push it a little bit. They could push it a little bit more. Like there's definitely some really good local talent that is a little bit hard, like just has a little bit more grit to it, that could perform a really good, entertaining show, like really give people a good fucking time. And I feel like that's what kind of gets overlooked. It feels like the music is just kind of like wallpaper. And then there's maybe one or two performers that have a show. It's like you have this huge stage. It's like put bands on that stage that can actually play a huge stage and give people a big stage show.
Yeah. I mean, they bring in a lot of it's mainly Americana.
Yeah.
It's mostly like that style of music. And some soul, like, Mavis Staples was there last year, and India Ari. So they do bring which is good. They bring some of like this sort of black soul artists. And then you get the like St. Paul and the Broken Bones and the Common Heart and stuff like that. But death metal is an art too. There's an art to that too. Like let one of those bands play, but maybe put them off and maybe put them in Market Square while everything's happening at the Point, so at least those people can go check it out.
Yeah.
But I think that I would love to see the whole range of things, and the same with punk. I mean, I don't know that Anti-Flag would ever want to play the Three Rivers Arts Festival, but and there would probably be like people always get triggered by the name of the band.
Yeah.
Because they see Anti-Flag and they read anti-American, and that's not what they are. It's it's a misunderstood thing. But they don't get a lot of love in Pittsburgh. I mean, when they play their release shows, they're playing Mr. Smalls and the Roxy and stuff like that. That was another one that was canceled, right? Was the Anti-Flag release show that they were going to do in March at the Roxy. But I think a lot of these bands deserve the love. The Cynics, right? We talked about the Cynics.
Yeah,
they should have been played on the fucking radio on FM. They were one of Pittsburgh's top 3 greatest bands to me ever, and they never got radio play whatsoever. So we have a way of not displaying all the stuff that we have here. And it's one thing I've tried to do. I know I've fallen short in certain places, but I've always tried to sort of highlight the full range of stuff.
Yeah, I think that it's very obvious that I feel like you've done a good job as far as what I've seen in terms of the things that you cover and just the frequency of the stuff that you're putting out. And it's super cool because there are times when you're not the only music writer in the city. There's other people that have you're not. Maybe you may be the most active, but there are other people, and like you could just tell with the way that they write things. Like, I've had album reviews in the city paper by people that I could tell they listened to the first 30 seconds and they're writing an album review. It's just like, do you actually care about this, or do you just want a job writing about anything? And you got music dumped on you. It's just like, it's very obvious just from your work that you actually have an interest in the things that you're writing about, which is, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, one would hope that they would, you would check out the whole thing before you wrote about it. But, and one other band I forgot to mention was Lady Beast, when we were talking about bands that could and should get like the attention, like in terms of metal.
They could definitely play
Lady Beast, Death White. I haven't seen your band live, but I've listened to it on Spotify. It sounds really good to me. So anyway, so to get back to the other thing you were just saying, what I really like to do, and I'm really interested in the creative process. I've realized that that's my favorite part of writing about music, is just, what made you write this? What was going on in your mind when you came up with this? Because, like, for instance, let me spell this gum a second. Like, I have never written a song in my life, right? I play guitar. A song has never come to me, and part of it is because there are so many songs. There was a George Carlin bit one time, like, there's too many fucking songs. Like, why do we need any more songs? There's already so many of them. It was like this really funny bit, and it's like, I could never write a song like Bob Dylan. I could never write a song like Neil Young.
But you could write a song like Scott Mervis.
Why should I do? Right. So what I'm getting to is that I am so impressed by people who just overlook that thing and say, I'm writing a song. This is my thing. You know what I mean? And I'm just so impressed that people write songs, good ones, well, bad ones.
Sure,
I don't know, but you know what I mean? So I'm really fascinated by just how what their whole process was. And I like to do features. I don't do a lot of record reviews anymore.
Yeah.
Also, there's like, in terms of like national bands, there's so many on the internet. There's so many national sites that run record reviews that I don't even bother with those anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like for instance, this House Rockers piece, I love to get real deep into how something was made, what the process was, the inspirations. So I'm always interested in what people have to say.
Yeah.
But I do like when a local band comes to me, and they have a good backstory. You know, it really helps to have a good backstory and to have it sort of fleshed out what your story is. You
Sure.
know, it makes it so much easier for everybody. You know, then here's my new album. You know, here's one line about it. Like, I don't really have that much to say about it, but here it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's great to have a story to go with it.
I've said plenty of times before that, you know, I have a record collection, and I love having these albums, but there's a lot of these albums that I would gladly trade if I could just have like countless hours of like DVD studio footage and just seeing like how everything was put together, how they recorded stuff, how certain things were mic'd, or like how they came up with these lyrics. Like, that stuff is so much more fascinating to me over the end result. And like, even with meeting new bands and playing with bands these days, it's like I don't really care so much about like what you're doing as much as why you're doing it.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that's how I feel at this point in my life. Like, I don't want to be like, you know, the yay nay critic, like this is good, this is not good. I just want to be the person who sort of tells the stories, you know, of local bands, you know, and I'm fine doing that. I don't always need to like weigh in. Sometimes I will, but I don't always need to do that, you know?
Yeah.
I have the concert reviews for doing that kind of stuff.
I feel too, with the way just how connected everyone is through social media these days, I find that, you know, people aren't so interested in being fans anymore. People want to be like your friend, or they want to feel like they're part of the family of what a band is or what an artist does. So I think people are a lot more interested in those personal behind the scenes stories on a general level nowadays than maybe they were in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And they can get them directly from the musicians themselves on their social media, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They don't need the music writers quite as much, but, you know, it's been, you know, it started with, like the comments on stories, like when we started running reviews, and we would have the comments under the reviews, and I had to stop reading them after a while because like, I just have to do what I do and not worry about what people are thinking about, like what, you know, like
Sure.
every little criticism, like what they're saying. And I mean, as a musician, when you put something out, do you want to read like all the comments about what people have to say about it?
At this point in my career, I'm happy to, because I'm still operating at a level where I need those comments, because I'm not incredibly successful. So if I get a bad comment, I may agree with it, I may not. I want the critique still. You know, I'm not exhausted by it yet, because I'm still developing in a way, even though I've been doing this for, you know, 15 years, I'm still figuring it out, you know, and I could use it. And I find that if you can create something that generates any sort of a response from a stranger, whether it's positive or negative, that's better than creating something that nobody responds to at all. Because, you know, I would rather elicit anger or, you know, something negative out of someone than nothing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm one of those people where like, you know, I'll post a story and then I'll read down like great review, like good piece, really, really loved it. And then there's like one negative comment, and that's all the hit. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
You see.
Oh,
that's the only thing you see, and the only thing you remember. You know, you just
that's
so
you're still a human.
I would think with a musician that would be like tough kind of stuff to see, like the YouTube comments. I don't know how any musicians can like put out a single or something and read the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
you know.
YouTube's rough.
But
I feel like anything in general. I mean, like I do visual art, and I remember a long time ago, I did an art video on YouTube. And even that, like, people were just like, there were some real negative comments that really got under my skin. So it doesn't matter if you're a visual artist or a musician or a writer. I think that it's just a undeniably human thing for like anything that's sort of negative to just really get amplified.
yeah, I was just watching. Are you familiar with Jason Isbell from Drive By Truckers? Like he's one of the best sort of all country Americana, you know, kind of people.
I'm not familiar with any of his music. I know the band. I'm familiar with the name of the band, but yeah, I'm not musically.
Yeah. Well, they like I was just watching. He put out his new album last week, and he and his wife Amanda Shires did like this live set, which is really great, from Nashville, where they played the whole album straight through, just acoustic guitar and violin. I'm just, it's up on my screen right now because I've just watched it, and there's 44,000 people watched it. There's 898 thumbs up, and then there's 15 people who didn't like it, and I'm like looking at the 15 people like, why didn't you like it? It was really good,
Yeah.
I'm like focused on that 15. Like, what was wrong with those people that they clicked on this? They might like him, but they didn't like this thing. So yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, we put out a new Sykes and the New Violence song a couple weeks ago, and there was a video for it on the YouTube, and I got really excited because it got a thumbs down, and I was like, yes, this elicited enough of a response in someone that they didn't like it enough that they felt they had to hit the thumbs down. Cool. Because even though I want you to like it, the fact that I got underneath somebody's skin with a song enough that they had to say, yeah, fuck this. Cool.
Right.
A reaction.
Now, when you put your stuff out, do you send out to the media like that you put out
Not
a song
anymore.
or you put out an album?
Not anymore.
Because I don't think I've ever gotten anything from you.
Not anymore.
How come?
I think
you gotta pitch that shit. Like, everyone's like,
I think that I got kind of jaded, honestly, as a musician. And in retrospect, I think that a lot of the stuff that I was doing maybe 5-6 years ago, when I was like really pushing super hard, it wasn't ready. It's not. I look back on that the product now, and I'm not like ashamed of it or anything. It's just who I was. It wasn't good. It wasn't that great. So I don't blame people for not necessarily picking it up. And I'm a lot more confident in my things now, and maybe moving forward, it is something that I will do with pitching things. I just know, I think there's part of me that's maybe a little bit too behind the curtain because, I work at Get Hip and I have my podcast. So I'm always on the receiving end of getting emails from bands that are looking for coverage, or people that I've never heard of that want to come on the show, or this and that. Like, even somebody on my scale, I get so much stuff every day, every week. It piles up. And then part of me just feels like I don't want to be that person. So then I don't send anything. But that's also insanely counterproductive. I'm very aware.
Yeah, you should.
I'm very aware.
You should.
Yeah.
But I don't even know like how important that media is to a band. I know like they like to get something, and then they put it up a day, and then 2 days later it's gone,
Yeah.
It's off of Facebook and Twitter, and it's gone. I don't know how much it even helps. But
that's the other thing too. Like, it's I've had Gray Walker has gotten a lot more press coverage than Sykes ever has. I don't know why. And like, I think that's the other thing too, is that Gray Walker really changed the way that I look at press coverage, because we never really submitted for anything. We were just super active. Word got around and people started reaching out to us. So I just kind of felt like if you just keep your nose to the ground, do good work, get people talking about it, people will find out, and they'll come out to you if they want to write about something. So that's the other thing too. I would much rather somebody like you reaching out to me like, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing, and writing a genuine piece, rather than being like, please review my album, and then getting something written by somebody that is like half-assed.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't assume that we know about it.
I know.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
for one thing, what's on social media, like a lot of people don't see it, especially when you're trying to promote something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Facebook has a way of like just sort of, burying that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've heard from bands, like whenever you put like a ticket price, like I'll see a band post information on a show all the time, because I'll go to like the events page on Facebook and see like what's happening this week. When I look at those posts that they put out, like they're doing a show, and 2 people click like on it, and I'm like, wow, I feel really bad. Like this band like announced their show or their album, and they have like 2 likes that got clicked on it. But Facebook just buries that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because they want you to buy an ad for it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we just don't know that you did anything. But I mean, there is a good metal press, right? It seems like there's a lot of metal press out there that finds things.
I think that the metal scene in Pittsburgh and in general, it's full of very passionate people that, people that listen to metal are always seeking metal. It's like there's this insatiable hunger. They're just always looking for more, and like it's a big part of their lives. And like on the polar opposite with Sykes and a New Violence, it's kind of like this weird amorphous thing, doesn't really fit into any particular music niche. So I think that most people that come across it and see us play, like they get it, but pitching it to a stranger, I've always found it a little bit difficult to pitch it to somebody versus Grey Walker, where it's like, this is melodic death metal, headbang, listen to this. And then Sykes is like, well, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's exhausting to describe it. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm working on it though. We're recording a new album.
You gotta just do it.
Yeah.
You gotta just do it.
Yeah. Dude,
and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean,
I try to respond to everybody, like, but I get like, I'll get these like Facebook Messenger posts like all hours, like Saturday at midnight, someone pitching their single. Like, why are you even pitching your single to me like on midnight on Saturday? It's just like the weirdest times. It's coming from all directions sometimes like that.
So as a music writer to the general public, anyone that may be watching this that is a band, do you have any simple do's and don'ts of pitching? Obviously, don't pitch somebody something on their personal Facebook account at midnight. That's a good one to start with.
Yeah. I think it is really better to hit people up on business hours, business hours rather than like when they might just be like out doing, when they're done for the day.
Yeah.
I think just like sending an email, with like a little bit of biomaterial, a little bit about the project, a streaming link is really good, and a photo, because we always have to ask for a photo. So some people have like the EPK that you can go to, and then it's kind of all there, but not a lot of local musicians, do that.
Yeah.
They just did it for the House Rockers record that we were talking about. There's the reissue of the House Rockers record. And there are some bands that are incredibly well organized with, how they send that stuff out. Just like but I just think the more information that's put into that email, the better. Like just provide all the information, all the information about the press release. About the release show, if there ever is another release show again.
Yeah.
Get it up front, get all the details on it, the time, the price, so we don't, so just make it easy for the journalists to sort of collect the info.
Yeah.
So other than that, did that kind of like answer what?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. That seems,
yeah,
that seems like a pretty common sense thing to me.
Yeah.
But again,
the other thing is, we're always looking for good photos of local musicians, and not every like local musician, every band really has good, like sends out good stuff. So, we're always looking to use things like that.
Mm-hmm. I was, I think again, being somebody that kind of operates on both sides of this thing here, I think that information is definitely super important. I get people that send me messages that I'm not connected with at all. So it'll be like, so-and-so wants to send you a message. So you have to like approve it.
Oh, that.
So then I approve it, and it's just like, hey, can I come on the podcast sometime? And that's it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one sentence. And I'm like,
and you don't know who they are.
Who are you? What do you do?
Oh, explain who you are, right.
Yeah, it's like, are you a basketball player? Are you in a band? Do you juggle? I have no idea.
Do you juggle? Do you juggle basketballs? Yeah, like give us, tell us who you are. Give us the information. The more the merrier on that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
but you do have a range of people on the podcast. Do you do basketball players?
I have not had any sports players on the show.
Ever. That's not what it is.
No, yeah. I would. I'm just not tapped into that world. That's pretty much all it is, I've had people on the show who are musicians that also play sports, but I haven't had anyone on the show specifically for their sportsness, which is interesting given the fact that we live in such a sports town. I just don't know anybody, but I'd be happy to talk with them. I find that it's actually some of the best episodes that I record are people that aren't musicians. They're the people that, are, because then I'm able to compare my life as a musician with, their life as a restaurateur or a comedian or possibly a sports player, or to like talk with a sports player about, what music do you listen to get pumped up or something, or, how has music influenced you as a badass hockey player? Like, I'm sure I'm sure there's somebody out there that's probably tired of talking about hockey that would love to talk about music. And I'm tired of talking about music, so I'd like to talk about hockey. It has to exist. I just haven't found it.
You could have done Le'Veon Bell when he put out his really bad hip hop record.
I didn't even know that happened.
Bad rap record. Yeah. He put out a record where he like bitched about the Steelers on it too, on his hip hop record.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a little review of that for just some clickbait. I needed some clickbait. Brian, was pure clickbait. When you're writing about Le'Veon Bell and you're getting Steelers, you're writing a music story, but you're getting Steelers in your SEO key. Steelers, like anything, people will click on anything Steelers. But But I'm trying to think like musicians. There's a pirate pitcher that just put out a Broadway show tune album.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
But I forget I don't remember the guy. Steve, somebody is a pirate pitcher. I don't keep track of pirates pitchers anymore.
That's nuts. One of there's so much more we could talk about. We're getting close to our hour, so I want to wrap pretty soon. Going back to,
where did you get your Elvira in the background? That's really cool.
Actually, that was actually thanks to oh my god, I knocked it from my mic. That was actually thanks to Sir Greg Kostelich.
Oh wow.
He came across it. I think actually what I think happened. So Rather Ripped Records.
Yeah.
Whenever I think he had the stand, and then what is his name? Right, I can't.
They opened in Lawrenceville.
Yeah,
and then they moved into like the South Hit, like Mount Lebanon, like the South
it was like Brookline, I think. Or
he was a cool guy. I forget his name.
I can't remember. I feel so goddamn bad that I can't remember his name. Anyways, whenever he finally closed up shop, I think Greg took his inventory. So we have all of the inventory, and I think that he had the stand, and the stand came from that. So the Elvira lives on.
Nice, nice.
But nice. One of the things I wanted to kind of talk about, I think, just wrapping things up in general, just kind of like one of the things that you hear a lot of people complain or talk about with local music is money. This whole ecosystem project, they're trying to figure out ways to get money into the local music scene. Or you're talking about, is there not enough venues in the city? Is there too many venues? And it's like, there's always these talks about like bands not making money. And then going even down to the smallest scale of like where you work for the Post-Gazette, and like, now with digital media, it's like, okay, there's an online subscription thing, which ties into money. And there's so much money revolved around everything. And, you know, there's always the question, it's like things should be cheaper or things should be free. And I feel as though for the way that a lot of people want the ecosystem of the music scene to be, asking for things to be less or free seems very counterproductive. And I'm just curious, like, where you sit on that in terms of like the rising price of things in arts, and like, do you think that it's a bad thing, or do you just think that it's natural?
It's kind of funny because we started the podcast with me talking about sneaking into the Decade to see the Iron City House Rockers through the freaking roof.
Your microphone is doing like a weird robot thing. I don't know what happened.
Oh man, I don't know how we go this far with it working, and then all of a sudden it's tired, right?
I'm not too sure, but yeah, you sound like a robot. It's pretty wild.
Ever since we started talking about Elvira.
Yeah.
Are we good?
I mean, it's still
like an echo.
It's like it's like an echo, and it has a robot thing going on. It's very strange.
Oh, geez.
I wonder if maybe it's just on my end. Hold on 1 second. Let me try something.
Okay. All right.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still going.
I don't hear it now.
Well,
but we can just finish the podcast.
Let's finish it as I'll tell you this. Yeah,
I'll just say, don't sneak into shows. Don't sneak into local shows. You know, support local music when you can, but also check them out. Check out the bands when they're free. Like if they're playing outside for free, and go see them, and then you can become a fan, and then you'll pay to see them later. And also let more various kinds of bands play out for free. That's my message. Let the death metal band play.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm going to do my outro and we will wrap this up.
Excellent.
And I hit the wrong button. Everything's broken. At the end of the podcast, everything just falls apart. How does this work? I don't even know how to work it.
We made it so far.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. And that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening one more time. Scott Mervis, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat 2020. Woo, woo. Thanks for listening. And fade this out, and then we're done. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Brian. I enjoyed it. It was great. You did a good job.